Welcome everyone to the Rise podcast. It's Kwesi Millington here speaking on resilience. And today I actually have a really amazing guest, a friend of mine, 6 degrees of separation. We meet people along the way. And her name is Michelle Perdue. And I'm going to introduce her and then we're just going to talk because she has a story to tell and I want to let her speak. Michelle Perdue is an award-winning speaker on a mission to cultivate a life of resilience for cancer survivors. As the founder and president of Speak to Advance Communications, Michelle empowers cancer survivors to find their voice, conquer their fears, and adjust to their new normal with courage and confidence to deliver their best life. Michelle has demonstrated what's possible when you combine your skills and talents to transform the lives of others. For instance, as a professional speaker, SAG actress and poet, Michelle has the rare ability to infuse her tailored and transformative presentations with a theatrical flair to maximize audience engagement. Her unique style has deservingly gained her the recognition as an expert with the ability to cultivate and accelerate the lives of others. Well, first of all, thank you, Michelle, for joining me. And just tell me in your own words, who are you? Tell me something about yourself in a nutshell.
Tell you something about myself. Well, I am a professional speaker. I am an actress and a poet. And I use my gifts and talents to uplift and inspire other people. And I have to tell you that I'm really excited because right now I'm on a very transformational journey, I guess you can say, in the sense that I have previously been operating as a speaking coach for business professionals. And this summer, I came to the realization that resilience was a topic that I was truly passionate about. So when you ask me, who is it that I want to inspire in terms of what it is that I do, it's cancer survivors, but also I'm learning that resilience really affects so many people in so many different ways. We all need that skill, that quality. So I would have to say that my mission or my purpose is to inspire and uplift others.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. And yes, resilience, I totally agree with you, is something that we all need. And you mentioned cancer survivors, and I really want to just get into it. Tell me your story of cancer survival and why why you were initially, anyways, inspired to help other cancer survivors.
Yes, yes. Well, I was diagnosed in 2017 with breast cancer. And I have to tell you, for anyone who has received the news, you have breast cancer, it literally turns your world upside down. And I was told that I not only had one type of breast cancer, but I was among the 10% of people who actually have two types of breast cancer. So, long story short, I ended up doing a year of chemotherapy. I had major surgery, and it really made me realize how short life really is.
Mhm.
And because of that, I came to the conclusion this summer. I said to myself, okay, well, I want to speak on resilience. Who would my audience be? And I really just started to listen to my heart. And I thought to myself, well, I'm a cancer survivor. And I know what it's like uh, to struggle in terms of getting through all the challenges and the obstacles that come along with that. So it was really a natural um, a gravitation towards wanting to work with cancer survivors.
Mhm. You mentioned a few things there. First, you said two types of cancer, and so take me back to when you got the diagnosis. Were you alone? Who was around you? How what kind of support did you have around you when this all
Yeah.
happened?
Yes, that's a really good question. When I received the news, I was actually at home by myself. And I remember feeling as if I was in shock. It was almost kind of like an out of body experience. Um, no one was home, it was just me. And I remember feeling as if I was so alone. Now, having said that, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. Her and her two sisters, all three of them had breast cancer at the same time.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, yes. So this was probably, I think, around 2008 that
Okay.
had transpired. And you hope that it doesn't happen to you. But when you get that phone call, like I said, it changes your world in a whole different way. It's one thing to have family members who have cancer and be there to support them, but it's another thing. I believe that when you actually are diagnosed with cancer, because there are so many questions that are popping up in your mind, you start thinking about your mortality and your kids. I
Hmm.
have a seven. Well, at the time, my daughter was 7 and my son was 9. So it was very, very, very difficult. I remember being at the Mall of America. I don't know if you're familiar with the Mall of
I've been
America.
there. Yes, I've been there.
Yes. So I remember taking my kids to the Mall of America just to kind of, you know, to get away from the noise that was in my head, so to speak. And I remember getting that phone call from my doctor telling me that she could not find a clear margin, and she was recommending that I have a double mastectomy.
Mm.
And I have to tell you, to be in the midst of all the noise and the chaos that was surrounding me, and to be there by myself with my children, um, was very difficult, to say the least. Very difficult.
And so you said that you have cancer in your family, breast cancer in your family with your other relatives, and you got your diagnosis. Was it 2017? Was it that you got it?
Yes,
Okay,
2017.
2017. So did you, because it had run in the family, did you go in for a test and that's what you were waiting for? You said you got a phone call and you were at home. Did you go in for a test or something? And was that prompted by the fact that it is genetic in your family, or how did it, like, you got the phone call, but how did it end up leading to that?
Yes, well, I received a phone call, and it was mentioned that they had found some calcifications. They said that they didn't know if it was calcifications or if it was cancer. So they were
Mm.
recommending that I come in for multiple biopsies, which I did. And unfortunately, it was discovered that I had breast cancer.
Okay.
But the good news is that I was diagnosed initially as a stage 0, which is the earliest form of breast cancer that you could have.
Okay. And it was recommended that you have a double mastectomy. Tell me about what you ended up doing and how you went from, okay, this out of body experience, how could this happen, to, okay, accepting it. Did you go through, I know they talk about, the stages of grief, you go through certain feelings of like denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. I think that's the 5 stages. Did you go through a stage process where you're like, before you got to the point that you're at now?
Yes. I mean, initially it was scary. I was frustrated. I was sad. I was filled with a lot of emotions. And then once I was able to get through those emotions, which honestly, relatively, I don't think took a long time. Because I remember having an opportunity to speak at Mystic Lake Casino like 3 weeks after my surgery, and the one of the things that was on my mind was, I remember telling my doctor, "Well, when am I going to, um, when do you think I'll be healed enough so that I can go and uh, present for my speaking engagement?" And that is what really helped to keep hope alive for me,
Mm, mm.
is to think about what was in my life that was bigger than me, so to speak. I
Okay.
knew that I still, even though that I was dealing with cancer, I knew that what my purpose in life was, which was to inspire and uplift other people. So it was really about being optimistic.
Okay. Okay. So you hung on to your purpose and that kind of helped you get through those tough times of, okay, I have cancer. I'm going to deal with this, but I know I have something greater to do that's bigger than me. What would you tell someone who maybe doesn't know their purpose? So if they get a diagnosis or they're going through something really heavy in their life and they don't have that purpose to lean back on, what advice would you give them?
I would suggest or recommend that they not focus on the why. So
Hmm.
often, when things happen in our lives that cause us to want to break down emotionally and physically, um, a lot of times we ask the question, why? Well,
Hmm.
why me and why now? And when you think about it, why not you?
Hmm.
So instead of asking the question, why, maybe consider asking the question, how? How can I get through this? Or what? What have I gone through in the past that I can rely on or reflect on, where I was strong, or I was able to get through something, where I can lean on those moments to help me to get through this situation now? Because I think sometimes we forget about how strong and resilient we really are. It's just a matter of reflecting back and looking at other situations that we've been in, to where we're reminded of how strong we really are.
Mm. That's a key point there too, just to reflect. And I like that, changing it from why to how. How can I get through that? So it's almost like how opens up your mind to possibilities, whereas why keeps you stuck mentally and emotionally. Um,
Yes.
yeah, take us back from it then, and let me know what made you get into speaking. Like you had your purpose already when you got your cancer diagnosis, but what's your background and when did you start speaking and how did you figure out that was your purpose?
Well, let's see. My background is, well, first of all, let me just say that I'm one of those kind of people who believe in following your heart. So I've allowed myself to do a variety of things in my lifetime, in the sense that I earned my master's degree in education from the University of Minnesota. I spent 9 years in the Army Reserves,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and and I pursued an acting. I graduated from the Ruskin School of Acting in Santa Monica, California. So when
Okay,
I,
you've done it all. You've done it all.
yeah,
Good for you. Good for you.
yes, yes. But after after leaving California and coming here to Minnesota, I was asked to speak at a fundraiser. And the place that I was asked to speak at, I envisioned this space that was really relatively small. And I was thinking to myself, well, this place is only so big. But anyway, it turned out to be a place much, much bigger than that. And I ended up speaking. And after I spoke, I had people coming up to me afterwards asking me, are you a professional speaker? Is this something that you do for a living? And I thought to myself, well no, but then I started to entertaining the idea of speaking. So then that's when I joined Toastmasters International, then became an area director and started training other club leaders. I joined, or not joined, but got my certification through Greg Valentine.
Yep, that's how we know each other. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And then I started my business to advance communications.
Hmm. Okay. And I think that's key for people listening is that you try different things. And a lot of times people just think, okay, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? And they want to read about it. Whereas you went and you did different things. You did Army Reserve. You got, you're an actress. You got asked to speak and you were just trying things. And then that's how your purpose came to you by staying in action. And I think that's key for a lot of people. What are your thoughts on that? Were you on a search for purpose, or were you just following your heart and said, okay, this is where it's going to lead?
No, just following my heart. For instance, I discovered that I could write poetry when I lived in California. I was auditioning for the vagina monologues. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know.
And I thought to myself, well, I have a vagina. I can write,
I
I
can
can
do
write,
this. I
I
got one of
can do
those.
this. Exactly. Exactly. So that's what I did. I remember sitting on my floor in the living room and I was starting to write a monologue to audition for the vagina monologues. And for some reason, my thoughts and ideas started coming out in the form of poetry.
Hmm.
So I just literally embraced it and I have been doing poetry ever since. So that's why now when I speak, I love to at times incorporate my poetry into my speaking.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that would be very well received. It's not just a speech; it's art, and it's all mixed in together. And so you were asked at that event, "Are you a speaker?" And you thought, "I'm going to be a speaker," but you coach speakers. So some people decide to do one or the other. You are doing both. Why did you choose to do both? And is there one that you focus on more than the other? As in, it's like speaking or coaching.
I think relatively I've done more speaking
Mm,
in the big picture sense, more speaking than coaching. I do love doing public speaking boot camps, which I have done over the years, and that's been well received. And so that's been a good thing. But for the most part, it's been speaking, keynote presentations. Um,
okay.
yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
keynote presentations, and the reason I asked about the coaching part of it is that you got certified as a speaking coach with Craig Valentine, and I always like to know because I know I'm a coach with Craig Valentine as well, too, under that program, and I know others as well, and they all have their own motivations for doing that part of it. What was your motivation for taking that course per se?
Because I was interested in not only in being a better speaker, but also in coaching other individuals.
Okay. Okay.
And which has also led to me at times speaking to business professionals in the sense of Johnson and Johnson, for instance. A couple months ago, I was able to train their employees.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank
Um,
you.
and one thing I wanted to ask you is I noticed on your website that you have a few programs. You have Be Wise with Cancer, Storytelling for Cancer Survivors, and Rock the Stage Cancer Monologues. I'm very interested in um, the market of cancer survivors wanting to tell their story. How did you find out that that was a market? Because you have cancer, and people are from my perspective, anyways. I've seen people that have cancer. They're normally kind of private. They want to deal with it. They don't necessarily want to go on a stage and share their story with others. But you seem to have found a market of people who are like that. What made you think that that was a market?
Honestly, it was just a matter of listening. I think that if you allow yourself to listen to other people's wants and needs, that informs you of really what's possible. And I myself belong to a cancer survivor support group, and the facilitator of that group uh, shared with me that she could she thought that it was important to have someone such as myself to help other cancer survivors, to help them to tell their story. And after being a member of the support group and watching some of the women uh, tell their stories, and some who may have found it difficult, um, really informed me that this is this is this is real. That some women do not, and not just women, men have cancer as well, but that there are people who struggle with telling their story. So part of what I wanted to do was to be able to create a platform, a safe space for them to come and share, and to help them to structure their story in a way where they would feel confident about who they are, and in telling their stories.
Absolutely. Um, and then that, and obviously you've created that. Tell me about telling your dealing with having cancer and communicating with your children when you get that diagnosis, and how do you navigate that with kids, and what did you learn about that with your own kids, and what do you tell other cancer survivors when it comes to communicating with their children especially?
That's a good question also. I believe that honesty is the best policy. I know it sounds so cliche, but it's so true. Um, Children know when there is something that's not right, or there's something that's out of sync. Even though they are children, I think sometimes we underestimate their feelings and where they are with things. So for me, it was just a matter of being honest and just letting them know what I was dealing with in terms of cancer and what I was going through physically and emotionally. I think that that's key, is to involve them rather than exclude them. Let them know that, hey, even though mommy is going through this, and I am not able to be there with you 110%, just know that, I'm here for you in the best way that I can. So it's just letting them in on your journey, because then they can have a greater appreciation for what you're going through. And then it also helps them to process their feelings, which I think children already at times can have a difficult time processing their feelings. But I think that that can be very helpful.
Mhm. And did you have a moment where you sat them down and tell them, how did you convey that information to them when you got the diagnosis? Like, how did you tell them about it?
You know, we have a lot of dialogue during dinner around the kitchen table. That's
Um,
kind of like our safe space to kind of share our thoughts and feelings. And honestly, I don't remember the exact wording that I had shared with them, but I know that some of the words were, you know, mommy's afraid. This is a scary time for me. But I also let them know that I was going to be okay. That I was going to be okay, that I was going to do what I could to take care of them, but also to take care of myself.
I love that you were able to say to them that you were afraid. It's the ability to be vulnerable and not try to be superwoman all the time to your children. And
Yes.
so you showed your vulnerable side, even though you said, yes, I'm going to be here for you. You let them know that you're afraid. And how, if in any way, has your relationship with them changed from before to after, or is it the same uh, before and after you dealt with cancer?
Well, I'm sure that it has changed, because I think it's inevitable, because it's changed me, and I'm sure it has changed them. I would think that it has given them a different perspective on life, in the sense that, hey, what happened to mom is part of life, in that it can happen to anybody.
Mhm.
So just know that, don't take life for granted. And I tell them that all the time. The importance of showing gratitude and being grateful each and every day that you wake up, because within a matter of moments, your world can literally be turned upside down. So gratitude, gratitude, gratitude.
I love it. I love it. I'm a big believer in gratitude as well, too. Just the way it lifts your spirits. And they say that the more that you're grateful for, the more that you get to be grateful for. You mentioned gratitude is huge with you and enjoying life and not taking life for granted. Are those the main two ways that you've changed through this? Or is there another way that you've changed through this? Because I said you said this has changed you a lot. Of course it has. But beside those two things, are there anything else that this situation, this diagnosis has changed you in?
I think it's made me want to fight harder for the things that I want out of life. It's allowed me to look at life through a different lens and have a different perspective on attaining my goals. It's forced me to realize that, once again, that life is just so short and that the only thing that you have is the here and the now. The here and the now, this is the only thing that you have. So make the best of it. And for those individuals who have cancer, that's one of I can't emphasize that enough, because it's so easy to think about the future and to think about the past, in the sense that you're worried if cancer is going to come back again. And that's real for a lot of people. I know there's times where, I think if I'm eating certain foods, I'm thinking, should I not be eating this because I'm worried that, my cancer is going to come back. Yeah. But it's really, that's not a way that you want to live. Living at the highest part of your being is truly about living in the moment and enjoying life for what it is, because that's where you find your true happiness. That's where you find true authenticity. Allowing yourself to be the true authentic you is by being in the moment.
Being here and now. And a lot of people say that, and definitely we know it to be true. How do we go about living in the moment? Like, what do we do to live more in the moment on a daily basis? Or what do you do?
Yeah, it's really about being aware, being self-aware, being aware of your thoughts and knowing where your thoughts are taking you, and knowing when to stop those self-defeating thoughts to bring yourself back to reality so that you're grounded and so that you have a sense of control, that self-efficacy, where you feel as if you have control of your environment and your emotions. That's really important.
So thoughts, it all starts with thoughts, right? The thoughts that you have, controlling those and catching the thoughts that maybe are negative and are going to lead you down the rabbit hole of negative emotions. And it's amazing that you were able to control those thoughts when you got one of the scariest diagnoses anyone can get. Is there someone or something that you draw your strength from as you went through this? Because it sounds like you went from being afraid to being able to grasp onto your personal inner strength to get through this.
Yes.
Where do you get that from?
Yes. Well, my husband and my children, they are a huge support. I wouldn't trade them for the world. But also writing poetry. Writing poetry has helped me so much. It has helped me to channel a lot of my energy and to get in touch with my creativity. And by allowing me to inspire and uplift other people. This summer, I had an opportunity to produce my second poetry CD, which I am really excited about. But that's what I do. I lean on my words, my poetry.
Well, your words in many ways. I mean, your words on poetry and then your words on the stage. So you mentioned that you're pivoting. So tell me more about that, just so I know exactly what you're doing. I mean, you were uh, speaking to mostly cancer survivors, and you say that resiliency is something that you are moving into. Tell me about that journey now.
Yes, yes. Well, up until this summer, I was operating as a public speaking coach where I would train business professionals on their communication and presentation skills. And after attending a webinar with Pam Borton on the topic of resilience, a light bulb went off. I literally had this epiphany and I was thinking to myself, oh my goodness, resilience. That is a topic that I should be speaking on. It really spoke to my heart and it really resonated with me. I started to think about my life and all the different things that I have been through, whether it was, dealing with cancer or just so many aspects. Domestic violence was another one. And it just started to make sense to me. And my heart literally was smiling. So then that's when I knew that I was onto something. And I decided that resilience was something that I really wanted to speak on. However, I still will be coaching people on their public speaking skills. That's without question. I still will be doing that. But resilience is really something that I want to speak on. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm transitioning into speaking on the topic of resilience.
Hmm. And I mean, that is something that can definitely transition over to the cancer survivors that you speak to as well, too, because a lot of them maybe don't know how to be as resilient as you have been. Do you know other people who've had similar stories of yours who have dealt with cancer that have not been able to deal with it as well as you have? And what do you tell them? What advice do you give them?
Um, well, let me just say this. Let me just reiterate this. So I'm transitioning into speaking to cancer survivors. So I really haven't immersed myself into that community as of yet because I'm still, embarking on that transition.
Yeah.
And, and I also want to make a note that I'm looking forward to speaking beyond cancer survivors as well.
Hmm.
Mentioned that I believe so many people can benefit from resilience,
Oh, yeah.
but at this moment, it's
I guess I meant personally, like if it, because you're part of a support group, and I'm just wondering if there are people that you know personally or that you met in these groups that see your strength and see, okay, you know what, you're getting the cancer diagnosis, and whereas other people are broken down, you're saying, Doc, I need to know when I can go hit the stage again. To me, that's remarkable. I mean, I don't know anyone else, don't know too many people who get a diagnosis and immediately say, but my purpose is calling me. I'm going to head back out there and do it. I mean, that is the ultimate in strength, if you ask me. So I'm just wondering if people notice that around you, whether they have cancer or not, and just ask you, what can I do, or what advice do you give them?
what
I
if
just on a personal level.
yeah. What advice do I give them? I would say to be true to yourself, be true to who you are, that cancer does not have to define, it doesn't have to define you. Um, Bringing it back to what you had just said in terms of me wanting to speak, to do public speaking after I had surgery. I'm going to take it back to this for a reason because there's a lesson in this that I want to share with
Mm-hmm.
the audience. So, after I had major surgery, a double mastectomy, within weeks, I was speaking to over 300 people at Mystic Lake Casino, women.
Wow.
And I was trying to decide on what topic I should be speaking on. So rather than speak on rather than allow my audience to see where I was at that moment in terms of what I was going through, I decided to ignore that aspect of myself. I tried to keep it all, you know, business professional in terms of helping them with their communication and presentation skills. Now, in retrospect, there's a big part of me that wishes I would have just been real and truthful with my audience by letting them know what I was going through. So when they would see my assistant helping me on stage or seeing the stool on stage so that I could sit just in case I got tired and I just couldn't get through the presentation. I wish I would have came at it from that angle. And I think if I would have, I would have made a bigger impact with my audience. So
Yeah.
when you ask me, what would I tell a cancer survivor? What advice would I give them? I would tell them to be true to who you are. And whenever you have those days where you feel as if you can't put one foot in front of the other, know that that's okay. We are not expecting you to be perfect. We want you to be present. There's a difference.
That's huge. I'm going to have to cut that one out and say that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. I
Absolutely.
absolutely love that. When you say now you're going to speak on resilience, so you're moving past and you're speaking to all people, forget cancer, people in general about resilience. What would you say are the top, one or two things that people should take away about building resilience? As you know, I'm a resilient speaker as well. So I always love to learn from other people that are experts in resilience. And what would you tell people to build resilience that don't really know how to when they go through things?
What they don't know how, let me just think on that because there's a lot of different qualities to building resilience. As you know, that resilience is multifaceted. I can't just say one thing that would encompass all of what resilience is. So I'm going to reflect on my life and to come from a place of truth and authenticity in terms of what I have gone through personally. I've shared a little bit about optimism. I mentioned to you that is what helped me to get through the challenges of dealing with cancer in terms of being in the right mindset and being hopeful, holding on to hope, because as a cancer survivor, there's so much that can get in your way that can discourage you and that can discourage you and cause you to not see what's possible. You lose your vision because your vision starts to be is consumed by your cancer. You're constantly going to doctor's appointments. There's a lot of things that get in the way. So being optimistic is one thing, and being aware of your story. What is your narrative? What are you saying on a daily basis when people are asking you, how are you managing your cancer? How are you getting through it? What are you saying to them? And also, what are you saying to yourself? Because how you communicate to other people and how you communicate to yourself has a huge impact on your healing process. So
Absolutely.
pay attention to the words that you say. Are they lifting you up and helping you to aspiring you to be better and do better? Are they supporting you or are they suppressing you?
Hmm.
There's a difference.
Are they supporting or are they suppressing? I love that. I love that. And you mentioned
Yes.
something earlier about reflecting on past times when you've overcome things. And, in another podcast, I call them success snapshots, right? So you take snapshots of times in your life when you've been successful, when you've been able to overcome things, and you look back on that and you draw strength and realize that you're stronger than you think you are. And all of these things that you're mentioning, I can see why you're going into resilience on a broader scale, because
Mhm.
this applies to whether you've survived cancer or whether you're going through a divorce or whether you are going through any kind of challenge in life. These are tools that people can use. Tell me, where you're at now. Are you taking a break from speaking? Are you actively out there speaking on resilience, or are you transitioning with, the old business and the new business? What are you up to now?
Well, I'm transitioning, but I am also excited and eager to present. So I'm currently looking for speaking opportunities, as all speakers do, right? Yeah, I just simply want to share my message.
Okay, and then you do have quite the message. And we've gone through so much today, and I'm actually in awe of your strength. I've lost a family member, my dad, to cancer, and
Mm.
um, I just have so much respect for the way you've handled it. I see you out there. I see your positivity, your light, and there's a lot of people that need to learn from you on how to be stronger, and for the cancer survivors, how to deal with that and how to overcome their feelings of, feeling lost. And I love what you said about not asking why, but asking how, to open possibilities. So before we finish, I want to know from you, where can people find you? What are you working on? And how can we stay in touch with you?
Yes, that's a good question. Well, people are able to get in touch with me through my website, www.speaktoadvance.com. You can go there to get update information in terms of the speaking topics that I speak on. But also, I'm hoping that people will stay in touch as well, so that when my book comes out, that they'll have an opportunity to continue to be supported in building their resilience.
Hmm. And your book, without giving away too much, tell us what it's about. Does it have a working title, release date, any
Yes.
details?
Yeah, so the working title is Rise and Shine: How to Live a Life of Resilience and Perform at Your Potential.
Hmm.
And each chapter is a principle that's based off of my life, a life altering event that I have gone through personally and have turned into a powerful message for other people.
Perfect. And and you're going to be taking that out on big stages all over the world, sharing your story. I'm so
That's
appreciative to you.
absolutely. Yes, and is there time to share a poem?
Oh, of course there is. I
With
love poetry. Are you kidding me? Yes. We will hear a poem by Michelle Perdue, and the stage is yours.
Wonderful. Well, I have two poetry CDs, so I can read a poem from my first CD or my second CD. But being that your audience may not just be cancer survivors, I will recite a poem from my first CD titled Be You. And it's all about being the authentic you. And I share a bit of my story of living out in California, pursuing acting, to where I am today in terms of speaking and uplifting people to become their potential. It's called Be You.
Awesome.
I was surprised to realize all that I had inside, having to prove myself to Hollywood for the umpteenth time, had to wait in line for my time to shine to prove to them that I was worth more than a dime. I said to myself, let's stop, rewind, wasting your time and mine. No, you take a seat. Give me a chance to show you, a chance to be me, be free. Let me live out my dreams. Don't try to overlook me because it's something that you can't see. I am not a wannabe. I am coming to you with originality. See, I was like this volcano that was just waiting to explode. Had so much inside of me, didn't know how to let it go, let it flow, let it show. This fire oozing inside of me. Whew. Okay, let me stop and breathe, release this tension inside of me, fear and all my anxieties. Free myself from that stress, feel blessed with all that God has given me. Now I can stop and exhale and smell the roses in life by not getting caught up in that Hollywood hype, not fitting their type. Too dark, too thin, not willing to sin, do anything to win just to fit in. But I stood tall. I embraced it all. Rejection, my lack of perfection, being told that I should take my life into another direction. Instead, I listened to my inner voice. And once I accepted it, I had no choice. I rejoice today because I am the woman that I knew that I could be. I'm not asking for their approval because I know my destiny. See, if you don't already know, then let me explain. I was put on this earth to, change things. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you very much. Oh,
Yes.
I love poetry. Yeah, I love poetry, and I love the magic of words when they're put together. And you did that so beautifully. That is called
Yes.
Be You.
It's called BU. And actually, there's more to it than that, but I just didn't know how much time we had. But yes.
Yeah, no. Where can we get the CD? Where can we
Oh my.
hear the full thing?
Oh, wow. That's one of the things that I am working on. That's a really good question because people are asking me, well, Michelle, I want to buy the CD. That was for my first CD. Here's my second CD, Resilient I Am, that I produced this summer for cancer survivors. So at this point, if you want a CD, it's really a matter of just emailing me and letting me know, and then I can let you know the details in terms of how to purchase the CD. But you just email me at michelle@speaktoadvance.com.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. That was beautiful, and it fits exactly what we're talking about today. Be you. I want to thank you for being on the Rise podcast and sharing your story. And I look forward to just seeing you out there and just continuing our friendships. So thanks again, Michelle.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.